and what legacy means to me. This is how I think about it. A lot of people think about legacy as, how much money, how many businesses, right? That stuff, it's awesome in your life, but that might not necessarily define your legacy. And my legacy, I want my legacy to carry on through my kids, right? When I'm not here anymore, what are my kids doing for the world that I instilled in them, right? Their values, their morals, how do they treat other people, right? I want my kids to be treating the CEO and the janitor the same exact way. I want them to care about that individual, right? If I didn't think that way and I was like, okay, how much money am I handing my children when it's my time? I'm only going to be worried about the money. And that's not what I want my kids to think about, right? And money runs out eventually, right? I could hand them X amount of dollars. Maybe it's thousands, maybe it's millions, right? Maybe it's one company, maybe it's four companies, right? That stuff will all that doesn't define who I am and who they are, right? And if they're only focused on business and money, that's going to define my legacy. And that's not what I want to define my legacy. I want my children to define my legacy, right? I want people to look and be like, oh, I knew your dad, and man, you remind me so much of him from how you carry yourself, right? Think about life, right? You only have, let's just say, 85 years on this planet, right? Those 85 years in the grand scheme of the world are absolutely nothing to a planet that's been around here for 1 billion years. I don't even know if that's the right number. I'm just saying. Right, so you're 85 years. It's not even a decimal point on the scale, right? But if your kids grow from how you grew, and that keeps rolling from generation to generation to generation, yeah, maybe you might get to that 0.0001% of, hey, that family helped, maybe not change the world, but that legacy of how to treat people and how to think about life and more than just money and success and that can change a lot of people's view on how to live their life, right? You take that time to get to know someone on a personal level, right? Find out their likes and their dislikes. It's not hard to be a successful person in this world, right? Do you have the desire to achieve your greatest responsibilities in life? Do you have the want to be the best in your field, right? There's so many different things to think about when it comes to legacy, and I just boil it down to the fact that I want my kids to be an extension of how I think about life. And it's that simple, right? If I'm not worried about chasing money, and I'm not worried about, being on the Forbes top 25 list for wealth, but I want to be on my top list of being a good person, right? I'm not saying money dictates whether you're bad or you're good. Money's great, right? You get to travel the world, experiences, all that kind of stuff. Money's important. I'm not trying to downplay money, but I'm trying to upsell life. Would you rather have $100 million in the bank and be a miserable, rotten person that nobody wants to be around? Or would you rather be, you have a comfortable life? Let's just say you have $100,000 in the bank. You're never strapped for money, but you're a good person that everybody wants to be around, right? That life right there, with the less money and the better quality of life, is way more important, right? What use is $100 million if I want to go to, let's just say, Hawaii for a month's vacation, but I can't even get my kids or my fiance or maybe a friend or two to go with me because they don't want to be around me, right? What's the point of the money if you can't experience life with $100 million? What's the point, right? I'd much rather go down the shore in a townhouse with my family or maybe another family to go along with us and create that genuine experience. So I don't want my kids to think legacy is life or is money, right? I want them to think about legacy in a way that it affects their kids and then it affects their kids, right? My grandkids might be able to watch these videos someday and be like, wow, that was my granddad. Look at him talk about life, right? There's so many different ways to think about it. And so many people get wrapped up with how much money do they have? Do they have the nice car? How big is their house? Right? It's more to me than that. It's what are my kids going to be like when I'm not around? Right? Are they the one helping their friend helping some random kid off the ground because he fell off the monkey bars? Right? Are my kids the ones standing up to that bully because that other kid can't stand up for himself? That's the type of stuff that I want in my children, because then that's going to snowball, right? And I tell my oldest now, I tell him all the time, I'm hard on you for a reason. I'm hard on you because you're the oldest brother. You have the most responsibility on your shoulders. And if you can learn how to carry that now, later on in life, I have nothing to worry about with you because I know you know how to handle it. I know you know how to treat people the right way. I know you know how to push yourself when it comes to sports and academics and being a good friend, right? If I'm hard on them in the early parts of their life, the easier it's going to be for them later. As opposed to if I let them do whatever they want now, when they're, high school, middle school, they're going to think that they can do whatever they want then. And that's not how it works, right? If you put the values and the morals and the discipline in your children now, it's going to come back and they're going to have such an advantage later in life because they already know what responsibility is. And then my kids can carry that on with their kids, and then their kids, and then their kids. It's just a snowball effect, like I said before. It's just teaching your children how to act when you're not around. And if you can do that when they're young, that's awesome. Maybe they're a little bit older in life and you're trying to help them find their way. I'm not saying you failed as a parent or anything like that, but don't waste the time that you still have left guiding them, right? Maybe they're 12, 13, 14, maybe they're 18. Take the time to help them understand what's in front of them and how to be a good person. Because that's what matters at the end of the day. Is, are you a good person? Let me know what you think about this video. Like, follow, comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.